Hello again, so welcome to my channel. So I'm so excited for this video because we are going to talk about 2025 for Capricorn Rising with Bram, who is with me. Yeah, we will talk about every transit of the other planets. So that will be quite fun, and it is the first video that we record. It is Capricorn Rising, not surprisingly, so it's the most hardworking sign. So Bram was the first one to clear the schedule, so we wanted to do it immediately. Welcome, Bram. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be doing this. Yeah.
Okay, so I will share charts. In the meantime, you can talk about yourself if you want to, like your practice, what you do, how people can find you, and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Brandon with Bramstrology. I have been practicing since about either 2010 or 2017, depending upon how you look at it. I was introduced to astrology in 2010 and then really started studying it full time in 2017 and then practicing full time as a consulting astrologer since like 2018, 2019. During my Saturn return as a Capricorn individual that I would be. And I practice primarily evolutionary astrology. So I focus primarily on those sorts of approaches in regards to, Pluto and the nodes and things of that nature. So very, very excited to get Pluto out of the first house, moving into that second there for us Capricorn risings. And just really excited to be here to do this. You guys can find me pretty much everywhere on Instagram with Bramstrology. That's Bramstrology, and bramstrology.com. And as well as on YouTube. So just kind of all over the place with that. But primarily Instagram is kind of the best way to contact me as of right now.
Okay.
So yeah.
Thank you. So I will also share your links so people can reach out to you if they would like to. Okay, so now let's take a look at the chart. So I believe you can see. So this is the chart for the 1st of January. So I only included the other planets and the nodes. So we will talk about the general insight of the year. So yeah, we will enter the year with Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, Uranus in Taurus, and Jupiter in Gemini. So right now, briefly, I want to ask you how these transits have been for you as a Capricorn rising. So the current transits.
Yeah. So they've been quite unique. So I'm gonna kind of start, I guess, with the Jupiter transit, interestingly enough. So Jupiter in that sixth house has been obviously a lot of health things, a lot of kind of movement around a lot of work, overworking, doing too much, kind of taking a lot on, doing a lot with my schedule, doing more than was asked of me, kind of overworking myself, and needing to kind of reassess how to deal with health and how to kind of better manage my own schedule, my own time. Is something that Jupiter transit has kind of coincided with. So it's been a lot of activity in the work regards, kind of working multiple jobs, working multiple projects, doing lots of different things. The Uranus in the fifth, this has been more of a kind of opening in a lot of ways for specifically how I relate to fun and joy in a lot of ways. One of the weird things about Uranus in the fifth that is with me, I actually got back into video games that I haven't actually done in quite a long time. And so that's a very like Uranian fifth house transit there. It's allowed me to find different ways to find joy again and kind of reconnect to that part of me. So that's definitely been a very fun thing. I've also gotten back into stocks and doing speculatory things with my money in regards to like financial astrology as well as something I'm kind of dipping my toe into in that regard with Uranus in the fifth there. So definitely some interesting speculatory, fun related things. The node in the fourth has been quite intense for me in particular, because for me, I actually have my node in the first, so I have my nodes are in Capricorn and Cancer, so this is like a nodal square. So this is obviously causing quite a lot of different tension for me in particular, just because of the fact that that node is square my own node, so it's a lot of just natural tension in that regard. Um, and so there has been a really deep change for me to work from home more and work with my family more. So there has been a lot of because of what I've been dealing with, which I'll get to with the kind of more Pluto part of stuff. The North Node has pulled me towards moving back with my parents slowly but surely and kind of finding ways to work more from home. more than I already was. Because before I was doing a lot of different events and I was doing a lot of public things, but now it's the North Node in Aries and the fourth is like forcing me to kind of stay at home. And then Neptune and Saturn in the third. The Neptune third transit, that's been going on for quite a while. So that's just kind of been a very large kind of getting into astrology. I mean, that was a lot of where a lot of my studying really went into. But more so, Saturn the third for me has been a lot more of getting more of the certifications in specific kind of studies, like really going and being really, consistent in my studies, consistent in going to school, getting different certifications and different energy healings and different things for mental health counseling, things of that nature has been kind of linked to this for me in particular, as well as kind of a shift in how I am perceiving a lot of different things. There is a lot of kind of truths happening that are kind of just coming to me about understanding how to be more conscious of what I'm thinking about from day to day, kind of taking a lot of things more seriously in my day to day kind of information. And that's also kind of indicative with the Jupiter Saturn square that's been going on. So there's been a lot of like overworking to get a lot of certifications to then try and stabilize more things. And then finally that Pluto in the second. It's been in my first, but it's also been in my second. And with my particular chart, Pluto is actually right on top of my Saturn at like 1 degree, which is obviously my chart ruler. So very, very difficult transit has coincided with a lot of difficulty within my family life and my parental figures and the loss of my parent or the slow loss of my parent, which has obviously kind of impacted the entirety of that chart and kind of has changed a lot of the reasoning as to why I've needed to change the directions of, the fourth house with the Aries, the sixth house, the third house, all these different things are kind of linking back to that Pluto that's moving into that second, away from that first. And in my particular situation, still impacting my first very, very deeply because of that chart ruler being at that 1 degree of Aquarius. So that's kind of just an overview kind of what I've been dealing with. And it's very, very intense. And I'm sure other Capricorn risings feel very similarly because a lot of this action's on the bottom part of the chart. And so I put all my, my grace and my love and care out to all my other Capricorn risings that are going through this in the same way, because it's very stressful in its own sense. And we have a lot of stress already as a Saturnian rule sign. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. So, sorry, I want to ask this because some of these transits will go on for the next year, so we will have some insight. And thank you for sharing. And as you said, it is in the bottom side of the chart, so it is pretty personal for you.
Mm-hmm.
So now, in the first few days of the new year, the North Node will ingress into Pisces. So that will be on the 13th of January. So now let's talk about the North Node in the third house and Virgo. So what can that mean for Capricorn rising?
So I think with the North Node in the third house, a lot of it already has a lot of activity in the third house with Neptune and Saturn being there. So for me in particular, kind of leading into that, it's been a lot of really being aware of the different concepts that you've been kind of studying that might not be real or might not be applicable or might not be in reality, but also pushing beyond that, pushing beyond your limits of kind of what you perceive to be the truth, to be what needs to happen. Because the thing is with the North Node, it's also going to hit Jupiter, or not Jupiter, I'm sorry, Neptune and Saturn. So there's going to be this kind of accentuation of all the things that Neptune and Saturn have been doing in that third house, which are all relative to like, what is my truth? What am I here to do? What perspective do I have that's really valuable? And I think with the node there, it's a really, really good indicator of the perspective shift happening in a way where you're like, I don't understand what this is. I don't know why I'm going this direction. And just this sudden insight, but this also kind of unveiling at the same time of kind of seeing things differently or really just having a whole different way of viewing things, right? Having some sort of like breakthrough or some sort of mental sort of like shift in that regard with the North Node in the third. And then kind of on the inverse, I don't know if you want me to speak on the South Node in the ninth.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to ask about that. You can talk about it.
Yeah, so the South Node in the ninth, I think, can also indicate a lot of kind of legal things. A lot like in my particular example, a lot of legal stuff is kind of being dealt with, kind of potentially moving as well, kind of changing the scenery in that regard. Dealing with just really what is the meaning of things. And the thing about the South Node in the ninth and the North Node in the third, it's a lot about taking all of what you've believed and all of what you've taught and all of what's out there and all of what you've learned in school and through teachings and through mentorships and certifications and study, and then saying, okay, well, how does this actually apply to me? And I think that's something that a lot of Capricorn risings, especially with their chart ruler in the third house in Pisces for a while, is something that's already happening. And I think the node is going to just really accentuate that. It's going to make it kind of strange. It's going to make it kind of weird to go through that process, but especially after it goes through the Neptune and Saturn, it's going to really solidify that new belief, that new perspective, that solid truth of the Capricorn rising that they need to apply.
Yeah, exactly. I think it will also be about mobility. So you will be mobile, like changeable, adaptable. And, third house and the ninth house have very broad themes. So it can be about media, traveling, astrology, siblings, distant relatives. So like the topics will be pretty diverse. So like you will need to focus well, I believe, with different themes and different things with third and ninth. And also eclipses will also pick the themes. So we will not talk about eclipses separately, but when the eclipses happen, of course, the themes of the third and ninth houses will be highly relevant for you. So yeah, I'm also waiting for this nodal shift to Pisces and Virgo. That will be interesting. And yeah, would you like to add anything on notes? Anything
Mm,
else?
not right now, because you said that we're gonna speak more about the nodes conjuncting Neptune and Saturn and also other things later. So no, not right now. I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So
Mhm.
then on March 30, Neptune will ingress into Aries. So let's first talk about Neptune in Aries in general. So what it can mean for Capricorn rising.
Yeah. So with Neptune in Aries, well, first of all, there's a lot that in and of itself kind of brings up, where it's a lot of just dissolving of the will, dissolving of what we believe in. There's this kind of connection to something higher that Neptune really does in Aries, and it's a very individualistic faith based, right? Which I think is something that is very connected to Capricorn risings in a different way, because it's at that core, right? It's that core sort of value that we're kind of dissolving, or we're seeing ourselves very differently, or we're immediately having this kind of like, well, where do we want to live? And this can be a literal dissolving of where we are living, or a dissolving of where we thought we were going to live, or even in the same vein, kind of moving overseas or moving to a different country, and kind of going in a way that's like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know what I'm here to do. I don't know what I'm grounding into. I don't know where I'm moving, who I want to be in a deeper way, where we can have, like I said, this dissolving of family or our roots, where it's almost like we're required to really sink in a lot more spirituality, a lot more of our faith, a lot more of our kind of trust into whatever we're doing. And that's automatically going to square, all things in Capricorn. So it is going to kind of naturally cause this kind of confusion that Capricorn doesn't really like. And the natural square between Capricorn and Aries is a lot of this kind of structure of like, who am I versus who is society telling me to be? And I think there's going to be a little bit of that dissolving nature there. That's going to be a very private thing for a lot of Capricorn risings. And like I said, it more than likely is going to have something to do with where they live, how they live, or at least a peek into what their dreams are of what they could live, right? They like, oh, I've always had this dream of living in this place or doing this thing or having this life. And then this is kind of a peek into that. But to do that, you have to dissolve all of what came before you and all of the structures, and that's terrifying, right? And that can be absolutely, completely disorienting in a way that Neptune is wanting you to just trust and fall into. So yeah, that's all I really have to say on that one.
Yeah, exactly. I think that Neptune will be about some confusion at first. And when we like see Neptune in Aries in itself, I see some type of independence. So like some type of first person connection to your ideals, to beliefs, to divine, and to like let's say anything that is higher than you. And fourth house is also a very private house. So I have Sun in my fourth house natally, so I know the fourth house energy. So it's your inner core, like it's your privacy, it's your roots. So Neptune will be here. So for that, like as you said, it can be about where do I belong? So asking this question. So do I belong to my family? Do I belong to my city? So there might also be some feeling of homesickness, for example, Neptune in the forecast. So you might even feel homesick for a place that doesn't exist. So yeah, with Neptune in the fourth, and there might be some search. And at the same time, like after some search, as I said, so it will be about some clarity, hopefully, to get a sense of where you belong. And it can also be about some root karma, I believe. Fourth house is also about that. So maybe like researching about the ancestors, seeing some connections in your ancestors or like hometown, like history of your family and so on. So I believe it might also be related to that.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And yeah, so Neptune will also sextile Pluto, or I think that will be about some strength, some like inner intuition to do what you need to do. So to feel what you need to do with Neptune and Pluto. So that will be some support. Of course, like this transit will be for 14 years or something. So that will be a long process and it will be activated every time there is something in Aries or the aspecting signs. So it's not for this year only. Okay, so would you like to add anything else for Neptune?
No, I think we kind of spoke on it there. I think there's just a lot of dissolving and a lot of faith that's really involved as Neptune enters, because there's going to be a lot of activity next year for sure.
Okay, that's perfect. And then soon after, like in 2 months, your trouble Saturn will first conjunct the North Node. So I believe that will be important. Let's talk about Saturn conjunct North Node in Pisces and then Saturn in Aries.
Yeah. So Saturn with the North Node is obviously really requiring us to be overly responsible. And the thing is, when it comes to Saturn conjunct the North Node and Pisces in the third house, this is almost being responsible for words that you didn't maybe know that you had said, or things that you may have said many years ago, that you're being held accountable for, or opinions or work that comes up from social media or from some online space that you then now need to suddenly kind of understand how to work with, or some foreign kind of information comes through and you're needing to suddenly really really step in and say, I don't know why I'm stabilizing this, I don't know why this is happening, I don't know why this is asking me to be more responsible, be more clear, be more you know boundaried, or like more regimented with my words. But it's going to really really force that, with that Saturn conjunct the North Node. And it's hard when the North Node conjunct Saturn, because Saturn is a very stable planet and the North Node is typically indicative of things that are unstable or unclear, or things that are eclipsed or unseen from us. And so this is almost like an unseen authority that, we're kind of being needing to come to terms with. And it can be, once again, someone who is just unearthing stuff from online, or it can also be just kind of a coming to Jesus or source or whatever you believe in, and having something come through and feeling like there's something that you need to ground within that, or some revelation. And this is also somewhat relative to what we were talking about earlier with the North Node being in Pisces, in the third house, is almost this new truth coming through. And I think really with that Saturn over the North Node, I think that that's going to be a really good time for especially Capricorn risings to really see what the truth is that they're needing to bring in, because they're ruled by Saturn. So when that is kind of activated, they then have a lot more of a stake in the game, or a lot more role to play with that, with Saturn conjunct the North Node. And so there's something that might be foreign and different about what they need to now do, or perspective that they need to now integrate really, really quickly, or they need to maybe also integrate really slowly as well. But I wouldn't really necessarily say it on the slower part, only because Neptune or Saturn is leaving Pisces, obviously, and it's going to be going into Aries. So this might be something you've been working on for a while. So it could be a new, like, writing a book and finally saying, "Oh, I just got the idea. Now I know what I need to do. I need to figure this out," or the final part of something. That's kind of what it feels like to me with Saturn and conjunct the North Node there in the third. And it comes from you, and it makes you feel more assured, more powerful, more kind of confident in that regard. And then when Saturn goes into Aries, this is going to have, its own sort of story. We're going to talk about, Saturn and Aries kind of with Neptune in itself, but seeing as Neptune goes in there first and then Saturn goes in, this does kind of stabilize a lot more of the disillusionment, the confusion, the kind of homesickness that you were speaking on. So this can be when they're really solidifying the okay, I'm needing to move to this foreign country. These are me putting the final steps in place, the final commitments, those sorts of things. Or it can just be like I'm finally going to, really sit with myself and feel my feelings and really have that safety. And even when it's dissolving, even when it's falling apart, even when it's not clear, I'm going to sit in this and understand that I'm the only one that can guide myself through this. And my guidance also comes from whatever I believe in, right? That's also relative to the North Node and the third. So there's this desire to say, okay, this is dissolving, this is falling apart, but there's something new that just came in with Saturn, like with Saturn conjunct the North Node, that now I have to try and find a way to really integrate that in a way that keeps me going and keeps my faith and keeps my willpower and keeps me kind of motivated as Saturn's in Aries, because it's really wanting us to really deeply accept whatever we're losing, whatever we're believing in, like deeply accept that and deeply accept our confusion that we're kind of being led towards or led through with Neptune. Neptune's a very hard one there, but like I said, I have to kind of bring it up with Saturn with Neptune just because it's right there, But it is a lot about home responsibility, a lot about grounding in that regard too. So yeah, that's a lot of what I really want to say there. I think there's just a lot of different shifts for Capricorn risings relative to really deep internal introspection coming up, with that, especially with those Neptune and Saturn and nodal kind of stuff that we've already been talking about. So yeah, that's all I really have to say.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I believe that, like as you said, it is kind of an invisible force, but Saturn is solid. So some type of invisible force will show you what you need to do with Saturn and North Node. So what your responsibilities are, or how to have boundaries. Saturn is also about boundaries. So how to have emotional stability, for example. Saturn is also about that in Pisces. So third house themes, as you said, like it can include school education, media, siblings, cars, traveling, and so on. So that will show you the foremost responsibilities, I believe. It's Saturn and North Node. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be interesting. And then a month later, now Saturn will leave Pisces finally, and then it will be in Aries. So let's first talk about Saturn in Aries. So, and people who know astrology probably know that. If they don't know now, let me tell you, Saturn does not do well in Aries. So it's a problematic sign for Saturn. So how will that be for you?
Yeah, so as a Capricorn rising, obviously being ruled by Saturn, Saturn's ingresses and Saturn's kind of movement, retrograde and direct motions definitely have a lot more of an effect on us because we're ruled by it, especially more so the Capricorn than the Aquarius, simply because it is so Saturnian. Um, and so I really think that the Saturn Aries fallen nature, a lot of what I'm sensing both from um, the upcoming kind of Saturn Aries ingress, as well as the awareness of all my Saturn Aries clients that I've had, is there's almost this kind of need to just fully be responsible and fully be autonomous in a way that most Capricorn risings are kind of aware with. But I think there's a different level of responsibility that Capricorn risings are going to be sent to, especially once again, like we had said earlier, it's all kind of on that below the horizon level, all these planets. So a lot of this is really personal and it's really private. So I think there's going to be a lot of needing to not work as much and not work externally as much and needing to work internally more and know how to be really committed to your safety, your goals, whatever makes you feel secure and at home and like you have something to work towards that's going to give you that security. And I think it's going to be harder for Capricorn risings because of the fact that we think of work as like going out to do a job and going out and being productive and doing all these Saturnian things. And the thing about Saturn and Aries, it has that same sort of drive to it in a way where it's still like I want to do things, but with its placement in a Capricorn rising chart, it's at that root. So it's almost like, well, you need to slow down, you need to sit with this, you need to not work as much, you need to kind of trust what you're doing and be very, very intentional in a way that some Saturn in or Saturn world charts, Capricorn risings may not understand how to easily do because they're so work, and so oriented in that way. So I think it's going to be this different inner responsibility of grounding and feeling safe and understanding how to consistently work on that in a way that's going to be pretty uncomfortable for Saturn's natural nature and as a Capricorn rising.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, so we talked about Neptune. It's about your ideal sense of belonging, ideal home. And now Saturn will tell you, like, if you want some ideal life, ideal home environment, if you want to feel belong to where you live, you have to take on your responsibilities. You have to do what you need to do. And
Mhm.
then fourth house is also about family. So we might also see, I think you might also see some extra responsibilities on family members, parents, grandparents, or so on. So for that, you might feel a bit stuck at home from time to time with all the responsibilities. So that will also teach you something. But at the same time, Saturn will sextile Pluto and sextile Uranus at some time. So there is kind of good aspect pattern between the other planets. So I believe that will be supportive of you to make some big changes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So then in the fourth house, it can, yeah, also be about, for example, permanent residence. Like Saturn is also like sticking like a glue. Like Saturn is permanent, so there might be some permanency eventually in the themes of the fourth house with Saturn in the fourth. And then soon after, let me check dates, I think in June, Jupiter this time. Uh, let's go. Yeah, Jupiter will ingress into Cancer. So opposite Saturn, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So yeah, I'm curious to see this energy for you.
Oh, yeah.
And Cancer is your seventh house of relationships, which many people are curious about it. Now let's talk.
Yeah. Um, so Jupiter in the seventh, the thing I think that's really exciting about this, right, is it's obviously exalted. So the opposite of the fallen placement with Saturn. Obviously it is going to have that square between Jupiter and Saturn that it's immediately going to kind of have to deal with. So there is going to be kind of this kind of difficulty with kind of working with the relationship, working with the home, and kind of balancing those newfound responsibilities or those new shifts that you're wanting to do with that Saturn in the fourth. But there is a lot of expansiveness, a lot of opportunity, a lot of growth coming. But it also comes, as for everything with Capricorn rising, it comes with a responsibility. It comes with a requirement to be responsible for if you're integrating someone into your family, if you're integrating someone that's going to help you through your family stuff, whether it's a partner, whether it's more sort of work from clients that are able to help you, or different sorts of business partners or whatever it may be. It's about understanding how they can help you kind of more so at home. But I think the Jupiter in the seventh that's the transit I am so looking forward to in so many different ways, because it is angular, so it's right across. So it's something that we can, I think, with Capricorn risings, it's something that they'll finally be able to see some sense of faith. They'll see some sense of opportunity. Yes, it's going to be hit with Saturn, so there is going to be this kind of square here, but it is something that they're going to finally see a little bit more of their hard work that they did while Jupiter was in Gemini, to see what Jupiter does in Cancer, and really helps them see more opportunities for clients, more opportunities for people, relationships, a lot more potential marriages as well. Obviously, like really highlighting that area, finding different mentors, a lot of really supportive stuff. I'm really, 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 really looking forward to that transit in a lot of ways. It's going to alleviate a lot of different stuff too. The only other thing I want to say really quick about this one with Jupiter and Cancer, um, Jupiter is the North Node ruler in this time period, so it is going to have a really nice supportive kind of connection to those third house kind of confusions that have been going on. As the North Node just went into Pisces earlier in 2025 rather. And so it's going to kind of alleviate that. And maybe this is where you'll get more support from other people being able to help you understand why you got those answers, or help give you those answers, or help you through that different sort of confusing sort of perspective that you need to integrate. There's something about some connection between those things as well that's actually really helping you navigate whatever you're trying to understand more fully too. So I really like that as well.
Yeah, perfect. And I also love Jupiter's seventh house transits, as you said, this angular house. So I remember when Jupiter was in my seventh house in Scorpio, in that year, I felt all eyes on me. So like people were looking at me. I got so much attention and I made so many friendships and connections. So I think that will be similar for you. And as you said, there might be some increase in your clients, like people you are connected with. And Jupiter also represents foreign people, so there might be foreign connections, international connections with that. And then it can also help you to find a good lawyer, good doctor, for example, that will help you really well. And then it can also be about, yeah, as you said, marriage might be possible, or Cancer is about home, like moving in together might be possible. So we might see that with Jupiter in the seventh house. And as you said, first, it will square Saturn and Neptune. So this when Jupiter first ingresses into Cancer in June, early June. So if you already have some relationship, or if you are looking for a relationship, for example, so there might be some feeling of being shaken, for example, like you might sometimes like you might be confused, or you might not really see something, or you might see something that you didn't see before. So for that, with Saturn square Jupiter, again, it will be about responsibilities. Like if you want a good relationship, good marriage, a good partnership, you also have to be responsible for that. So Saturn square might be about that. Or Jupiter square Neptune might also be about, I believe, what you idealize, what type of relationship you want, how do you want people to see you? So you might also think about these things, or how do you want your clients to see you? So how do you want, what type of connections you want to make? So you can think about these things. And one something that I see, also it is kind of hidden. We have inconjunct from Pluto, so that will be interesting. So I actually love the aspects between Jupiter and Pluto. So it can be some struggle, but eventually I believe they are about some richness, some abundance, because they unearth some treasure that is hidden. So you touched on this actually. We have Pluto in the second house, Jupiter in the seventh house. So there might be some financial partnerships or financial increase, or it can happen out of nowhere with inconjunct. So I believe that will be surprise for you. It's a nice surprise. And inconjunct aspects of Jupiter are also about fun, I believe. So you might have some type of dark humor or some type of fun in your life too with this inconjunct aspect. Okay. Would let me see. Yeah, as you said, Jupiter will rule the North Node. So as the North Node is in the third house, I believe in the relationship there will also be some good communication or good connection. And the third house, Piscean emotional expression will be very visible in all connections. I can see that. And for Jupiter, of course, like it will move on, go back. So it will be about some different themes. We will talk about that when the retrogrades come. So like Jupiter retrograde in the seventh, for example, when we think of it. So can it also be about ex-partners, for example, or ex-connections? Yeah, we can also see some connection with the past, or some connection with the people that were in our lives or in your lives in the past. Okay. So then finally, we have Uranus. So this has been, I believe, quite fun for you, like in the fifth house. So like maybe in finances, in dating, in romance. But now it will be in the sixth house. So for that, like sixth house is our routine, so what we do every day. And Uranus doesn't like routine, it likes change. So I believe that will be a bit let's say, unpredictable for you. But first, let's talk about Uranus and Gemini. What does that mean? That will happen in July.
Yeah. So Uranus and Gemini has such a rapid energy to it. Just in and of itself, separate of it being in the sixth house, which is a very kind of active house, and it's been active for the past, up until June with this, where we've had Jupiter in that house. So there has been a lot of expansion, a lot of opportunities. So I think knowing that, and this is kind of just true for every rising sign, but especially for Capricorn risings, I think knowing what Jupiter has been doing in that sixth house of routine and knowing what it's been teaching you about your health and what you can manage and how you can reorganize your day to day, it's really setting you up for a lot of activity in that particular house. It's setting you up for a lot of instability, but a lot of like rapid change where it's almost like, okay, I move and I have to now work online all the time and I have to do all of these different rapid shifts with technology and I have to kind of keep up or I have to find a way to really change and innovate the way that I relate to health or the way that I relate to the work that I do. And there might be just multiple things, not really in the Jupiter overwhelm. I think that's something that is going to kind of be more stabilized as Jupiter squares Saturn, obviously goes into Cancer. Um, but once Uranus goes into the sixth, I think there's going to be, okay, we've prepared all this stuff, we've worked all this stuff out, we've organized all these things, and then Uranus is like, okay, let's really shift it. Let's really move it really quickly. Let's make it really, really fast. Like you know what you're supposed to do. And there's this kind of like genius insight of like, I need to change this way, I need to do this way, I need to try this thing. And it comes at rapid speed. And like you had, there is I don't know if you want to speak on it a lot now, but there is that natural trine it's going to do to that Pluto there. So there is going to be like a big activation of just like, okay, I need to make more money or I'm making more money because I integrate, online stuff or I do this, I take this risk or I take this sort of like, different shift in my career or I just go viral one day or something to that effect that allows you to make a lot more of an impact in what you do. And I think there's going to be a need with Uranus in the sixth and for Gemini to find ways to fractal oneself in your work, meaning making things like this, making YouTube videos, making things that are created once, but then are able to be given out in kind of a mass sort of way. So something that you can be more efficient with your time because you're making, one video for 1,000 people versus one video for one person, and understanding that allows you to create more, not necessarily all the time more financial abundance, but it can if you have those systems set up, which is what Jupiter and Gemini is kind of doing, and allowing you to really rapidly expand through the work that you're doing and rapidly wake people up through the work that you're doing. And it also is likely related to health things as well, and kind of like really taking on entirely different health related regimes or different innovative ways to reintegrate to the body and reintegrate to that sort of way of working and kind of being like having that different awareness, which I think will allow you to work better, work stronger, work more efficiently, as you're learning more about your body, your health, and in a way that is entirely maybe foreign to you, but in a way that's like, I'm going to try entirely different, Eastern medicine things, or I'm going to try entirely different, shamanic things, or whatever it may be, something that's entirely separate from what you may have been raised on or what you may have believed would work. And so there is definitely a nervousness with this and an overwhelm with Uranus and Gemini in the sixth. So take care of your like nervous system and really integrate those routines. I think the Saturn sextile in the fourth with that Neptune is going to kind of help it as well to kind of to kind of understand how to really ground. I think grounding is going to be super, super, super important for Capricorn risings, as all these things are very ungrounded, which Capricorn doesn't really like. So that's really most of what I have to say for Uranus and Gemini. I don't know if there's anything else you want to really add on that.
Yeah, so you explained everything perfectly. So, yeah, and as you said, I think why Capricorn rising is so hardworking and they can multitask is sixth house Gemini. So they can do lots of things at one time. And Uranus in the sixth house will also be about some multiplicity, as you said. You might have a routine for next week, or you might have a plan for next week, but it will totally change when that time comes. So you will need to be more adaptable to changes. And it can also be about technology, AI, and reaching out to masses, as you said. So there will be more crowd in your routine, and you will maybe reach out to more people by the internet or social media and so on. So there will be a lot more communication, a lot more emails, a lot more, I don't know, videos and YouTube videos and so on. And then for health, yeah, it can be a bit shaky because Uranus in the sixth house might also be about some interesting health problems. So you have a kind of problem, you see a doctor, but they cannot tell you what's wrong exactly. So there might be some weird health problems that appear and disappear from time to time with Uranus in the sixth house. So Uranus is also about technology. So for that, maybe choosing the latest technology of treatment, choosing the latest technology in life might also be helpful. So yeah, this transit overall, I believe, bring us lots of new technologies that we cannot even think about now, and we will see that in 7 years. And that Pluto trine as well, so that will be pretty transformative of how we communicate, how we see the world, and that will also change, I believe, how you make money, what you think about earning, like what's your, let's say, perspective of work and earning income. And Aquarius and Gemini will kind of broaden your perspective when it comes to work, work ethic, and work routine, and so on. And for health, yeah, you can also try new alternative types of medicine, for example, or new alternative types of treatment. So yeah, that will be pretty interesting for you with Uranus in the sixth house. Okay. So I'm also looking forward that transit for myself. Yeah, I think we have covered all the shifts of the 2025. So and let's take a look at the last day of the year. So where will the planets come at the end of next year? So uh, let's go to Capricorn rising. Yeah. So Pluto will still be in early degrees, 2 degrees Aquarius. So Pluto will move so slowly. And the nodes will come to 11 degrees, mid Pisces degrees. And Saturn will retrograde to, Saturn and Neptune will have retrograde to Pisces. So I think that will also be about some unfinished business in the third house. So you will go back to that. Uranus will retrograde into Taurus. So again, it will be about some unfinished business in the fifth house in Taurus, and Jupiter will be in Cancer. Okay, so would you like to add anything on these things, for example?
I think the only thing I really want to add on this, I think, is a lot of what 2025 is because of these ingresses and kind of retrogrades that are kind of all kind of bouncing back and forth in a lot of ways, is this is the year to really um, take take those steps, take those kind of beginning kind of risks in a way, and really integrating those things that we've kind of spoken on in regards to Uranus and Neptune and Saturn and Jupiter and all those things and Pluto, and understand that they're going to kind of come back, and you're going to have a reassessment of that. You're going to be able to kind of really clear up and clean out all of what's unfinished to really move you towards those things. So just know that there is like kind of a sneak preview, but it's a sneak preview that you need to put some effort into once it kind of comes around in the ways that we've kind of spoken on with, Uranus in the sixth, Neptune, Saturn, those sort of things, because it will come back and you will kind of be able to finish those things up. So there is still some final kind of workings of those third house matters that we were kind of talking about, as well as those fifth house matters that are really allowing you to kind of see more of what you want to be, how you want to go about that, and how you can communicate more clearly about what your goals are, where you want to go. And the good thing is, at the end of the year, we obviously have Jupiter staying in the seventh house. So it is going to really support a lot of these sort of people coming in to help you through whatever this transitionary period is that you're sensing or that you're beginning or that you're kind of knowing is going to come around for you, maybe not in 2025, but more in 2026 when we see more of those. And this is also when we're also going to start to see a somewhat loose, and I don't know the exact date this happens, but a somewhat loose trine from Jupiter to both Saturn and Neptune, which is something that we haven't seen in quite a while because we kept seeing that Saturn Jupiter square when Saturn was in Pisces, Jupiter was in Gemini, and still when Saturn's in Aries and Jupiter's in Cancer. So there is going to finally be at least more of Jupiterian support. So I would lean into the people when they come to you. I would really, really highlight that Jupiter Cancer because that's really the highlight of the year in kind of helping navigate understanding, getting mentors, getting people that can help guide you, people that are financial advisors or teachers or gurus or whatever that can help you through this transitionary period and help you kind of see what you can do, and then also help you really understand more of how you can put those steps and return to what you need to deal with these third house re-ingresses, to then finally go after what you want to go into. So I think that's something I just really wanted to highlight at the end of the year that I think is a really good end to the year in a way that Jupiter is really helping a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. And I also believe that like with third house Pisces, seventh house Cancer, and planet stage, you will find security to open up to people. So you will open up yourself emotionally, and you will open up your needs, insecurities, concerns. So you will find good connections by opening up your emotions. So that will be pretty supportive. Okay, so thank you so much, Brandon. So
Yeah.
I've covered everything, I believe. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your time and contribution. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, do you have any final words, any final comments?
I really just want to say that, like, first of all, just thank you for having me here. This was such a fun thing to go through. I really love being able to go and do it, and I'm really excited that I'm like the first Capricorn rising one to kind of do it. I'm really really grateful for that. So yeah, I really think that with the year ahead, like I said, I think it's about really understand this is the first step forward in a lot of bigger things, and this is not just for Capricorn risings. It's just like a global thing that we're all going to kind of be dealing with as these planets ingress into these different signs, then kind of regress, right, and have this kind of thing. So I think it's really important to understand that this is really the start of a lot of things for Capricorn risings that are allowing them to really grow in a way that they might not have known how to do now that Pluto's out of their sign. So there's kind of this more of a relief that I think we're now being able to work with, where we're more empowered in a way that we hadn't had for 18-20 years before, when Pluto was in Capricorn, right? First time in 2008. So I think there's going to be a lot of shifts in that regard, where you use the empowerment that Pluto really gave you to go after all of these things with the bravery that you do have inside of you, and sit in that in a different way that you might not have necessarily understood that you could do, or the capacity that you may have. Your capacity is going to be stretched, but you'll be fine. So that's all I really have to say. So
Yeah, thank you so much. So I also believe that like transits doesn't happen like this. So there are process and cycles. So when, for example, Jupiter gets to Cancer in your seventh house, this doesn't mean that on the first day you will meet somebody or make good connection. It will be a long process. Like I'm telling this for the viewers. So it will be good to understand the cycles of planets and transits. Okay. So
yeah.
yeah, now I can end the video. Again, thank you one more time, Brandon. And for the viewers, there will be more to come, and I will do each sign. So if you don't want to miss, please stay tuned, comment, subscribe, and like my videos. So yeah, thank you for watching the video, and see you next time. Take care and goodbye.
Bye.